X-Men 97 is so damn good. It made me realize how bad things are with Star Wars right now. And look, I can tell us that we're going to get some moans and groans on that one. But I've got a couple of hot takes, man. I've been thinking a lot about this because X-Men 97 is going crazy. Like, can we stop for just a second and admit that X-Men 97 is exceeding all of our expectations? I don't think there's a single person that thought it would be this good, that thought it would be this successful. And maybe that's a little bit because of the state Marvel's in, right? Shit's been whack. We're a little trepidatious. I kept thinking to myself, bro, if they screw this up, I don't know how I'm going to have to get really toxic if they screw this up because of what it means to me. You know? And for a fan base that tends to get really toxic about things, and I think nerds in general, like I think passion and I think passion and toxicity are pretty close together. If you really care, you care, and you're gonna care when things don't feel right, when things feel counter to the things that you believe represents the stuff you love, right? So we tend to get really toxic about certain things. I don't know that we get as cheery and positive when things are really good. So I'll just start there because X-Men 97 is so good. You should probably be talking about it more and letting the team know, letting Marvel know how much you love it, because we damn sure let them know when they're not doing that. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I've been thinking about this show in comparison to Bad Batch. I love this season of Bad Batch. There was a moment, I want to say it was 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't remember exactly, but I told you guys I thought Bad Batch was maybe the best Star Wars show we've had in years. I legitimately think that. I started planning a video. This was before I quit doing YouTube videos and like trying to come up with all these points and like edit videos and you know what I mean? All that. But I was thinking about making a big video about that, about how I thought Bad Batch was literally better than almost every single Star Wars show we've had in the past 2 to 3 years. I think that it's made with an attention to detail. I think it proves certain things about the slow burn of character development. I mean, I think it's handling things like how do you do music that feels like John Williams, but it's modernized. I mean, it's like top to bottom, I think, an incredible show. Incredible. However, I didn't watch Bad Batch last week. I frankly don't have a lot of desire to watch it this week. And I started to try to like think through that, right? I was like, well, why? Like, that's so weird. I admit that it's great, but I'm not feeling any sort of rush or desire to watch the show. It made me realize when it comes to this nerdy shit, quality matters. But quality doesn't drive us to go check this stuff out. A lot of you guys think that Andor is like the greatest thing to ever happen to Star Wars. Like a lot of you do. And so kind of like what that means to me is that those of you that watched Andor for the most part just were really blown away at the quality of the show. Now, this is something that I've always been able to admit about that show. You know, the writing, the acting, the cinematography, it's all on point. It's a very competently made show. And I think it makes certain other shows, like you look at Kenobi, how the aspect ratio of the ships are literally changing in some shots. There's just so much goobly glob bullshit in a lot of the Star Wars shows. This includes Ahsoka, which I love. The episode 7, episode 8, like there's a lot of stuff going on there that are like, you can feel the limitations of either the production, the direction, whatever. It's not working. But again, nobody watched Andor. I'm not trying to be rude. That's recorded in like the stones of history. It underperformed so badly that they were trying to put it out on Hulu, ABC. It like nobody watched it. Nobody. And it just performed so poorly. Like that's undeniable. If you don't think that, it's cope. It's copium. That is what happened. My point is, if it was just about quality, Andor would have performed well. If it was just about quality, maybe I would be watching all of these episodes of Bad Batch. But it's not just about quality. Not in the pop culture zeitgeist. Not when it comes to nerdy shit. There's no conversation being had about Bad Batch. Like none. I don't have to worry about Bad Batch spoilers on the timeline because nobody's watching it. So I don't feel a drive, a push, a pull. I feel no kinetic force whatsoever that makes me think I have to watch Bad Batch and I gotta watch it right now. And I just told you guys, I think it's maybe one of the best shows they've ever made with Star Wars. It's definitely one of the best in the past couple of years. I love that show. And you look at what X-Men 97 is doing, and it's exceeding the expectation because, like, you know, I think, again, Star Wars fans might try to make sense of this. Well, it's animated. Animated was never going to be big. Guys, look at what's happening with, you got people saying X-Men 97 is better than the MCU. It's better than Endgame. Real talk. And it's not even just people within our circle. Like, you have, who's the guy that did the crazy thing on Parks and Rec? Patton Oswalt. He is out here saying it's some of the best shit they've done in years and they need to do more. You know what I mean? You've got big names in different spaces coming forward with big platforms, and they're expressing this shit is fire. So it can't just be that it's animated, right? Because Bad Batch is animated. So is X-Men 97. X-Men 97 is some of the most competently written, just well-designed, well-thought out. It's an incredible show that has also captured a conversation. When X-Men 97 comes out, people are talking about it. I had to dodge spoilers this morning as I was like getting online. People are going crazy. There's a conversation about it. And it's something that, I was watching some interviews with the Fallout people, and they were talking about how a lot of the time now we make content for the internet. That's his words, not mine. But it makes sense because it used to just be critics. Critics was the shit. You'd making shit for critics in some ways. Maybe not completely, but you definitely want the critics to like you. It helps the show. Well, nowadays, it's all about the conversation online because criticism has been democratized. We all have a voice. So that's part of why X-Men 97 is popping up. Marvel specifically, and comic books specific, have always thrived in that kind of a world. Comics are always about the next thing. You read a comic, and you should be feeling like, hell yeah, but also, I need to read the next one. That's a thing. It's episodic in nature, and there's a conversation created around that, right? So you look at X-Men 97, how it's succeeding, and then I think about the way that I feel about Bad Batch, even though I like it. And I think the real thing that we have to keep in mind, and this is something that I think Star Wars needs to learn, but I don't know if they're going to. Technically, Marvel needs to learn this from themselves because X-Men 97 is so uniquely good compared to a lot of stuff that they've been doing. It must satisfy and create conversation. And that fan conversation is a huge part of how and why these things succeed. That is just inherent to the DNA of this stuff. I think also, and this is like probably like a really big deal. This is something that they really should pay attention to. And unfortunately, it's something that Dave Filoni does not do well. The X-Men 97 show is taking an old format, right? 22-minute episodes that fill a half hour worth of TV with commercials. It's taking an old formula and it has updated that formula for streaming. Like, it is so good and it's built different. And Bad Batch is built like the Clone Wars, which at the time when Clone Wars first came out was huge. It was so big. X-Men 97 level of big. But Clone Wars, and now Bad Batch, has filler episodes. Bad Batch has weird turns, twists, and character things. Bad Batch doesn't always set something up for the next week. It's doing a formula that worked like 8 to 10 years ago. And it just shows me that, like, once again, like, Star Wars is so behind. And it's not just because they can't seem to get away from nostalgia and stuff like that. X-Men 97 is showing us a brilliant way to do that. We're working off nostalgia, but we're using the characters to build something new. You've got people like Rob and myself that know all these stories, but don't quite know how it's going to fit together with the way they are telling them in 97. Using the source material, but doing it in a way that feels fresh. Star Wars is not doing that. Bad Batch, for as good as it is still produced in such a way without modern audiences in mind. And I think this is a big problem with Dave because Dave, and I love Dave Filoni. I simp for Dave Filoni. I am a tier 3 sub on Dave Filoni's Twitch, but he is a bit of a boomer. Dave doesn't like even having spoilers in his trailers. Dave likes going off the beaten path. Dave likes, oh shit, we crash landed. Let's fix the fucking ship for this whole episode. That is Dave's style. And I think the people that are writing this show now, because it's not actually Dave anymore, but I think they're fitting it all into that formula that came before. Star Wars needs to evolve in a lot of different ways. And I think X-Men 97 kind of shows us a way to do that. A way to take what worked before and update it because they're killing it, dude. Oh, Bad Batch isn't doing great because it's animated Star Wars. Animated Star Wars has never been a thing. Explain X-Men 97 to me. Explain how it's doing what it's doing. It's animated too. What's the difference? Oh, well, the old X-Men show, it's so nostalgic. X-Men was so great back in the day. What about Clone Wars? We're literally talking about, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? So to me, this is just showing once again why Star Wars is so behind. They are trapped in some really, it's like we can't take reference, take pre-established lore, which Star Wars has a shit ton of, regardless of what Kathleen will tell you. Incredible comics, novels, video games, RPGs. There's a lot you could take. Take it. Do it in a modern audience. Don't give me a 24-episode season that has all these filler arcs that feels weird. Don't release it in the way you're releasing it. Give me 10 sharp, well-crafted episodes. Take me on a story. I think X-Men 97 is eating the Bad Batch's lunch right now. And it's just like one more reason why Kathy and Dave and everybody over at LucasFilm, like, they should learn from this and they should change the way they're doing it. If you don't change and the audience does, and then the audience is gone, it's your fault. It's not the audience's fault. Your job is to meet them where they're at. So I don't think we're doing that. And so that's the take. That's what's going on with X-Men 97 and Bad Batch. I don't even know when I'll watch the next I don't know when I'll watch Bad Batch again. Maybe I'll do a whole binge next week. But that's my thoughts. That's what I think. What do you guys think?